So I wonder if you could say a little bit about, for you, the meaning of that distinction, especially, I think it's used interchangeably by a lot of people, anti-bias and anti-racist, and that indeed anti-racism, it seems, is often reduced to issues of bias, right? Or racism for that matter, to issues of bias. So could you, for our own basic education, say a little bit about how you see the distinction?
Sure. Thank you for that question. Madeleine heard me talk a couple of weeks ago where there's a whole slide when I talk to schools about the language and how a lot of terms are used interchangeably when they really mean different things. When I have more space in my bio, I also like to add that I am like aspiring or anti-bias, anti-racist educator in progress. The expert label makes me deeply uncomfortable because I think that the constant process of learning and unlearning is so important. And I think it's really dangerous when I think people in general, but especially educators, get to a point where we say, nope, we're good. We know everything there is to know about any particular topic. So I think about terms like anti-bias, DEI as like these really big umbrella terms that all mean really different things. But underneath all of those are so many different identifiers and things that we have to be aware of. It's not just about focusing on race, even though here, obviously at EmbraceRace, that is the focus, and racial justice and anti-racism does seem to be the main focus in a lot of schools, even when they say, we're invested in DEI work. I think it's really important to note that when you're using those really big umbrella terms, if it's around anti-bias or DEI, that you have a responsibility to also include conversations and lessons and centering issues around gender, neurodiversity, body size, language, citizenship, like all of those different identities that make our students who they are. When I talk about anti-bias and anti-racism, I think the most important pieces are to remember that it has to be rooted in action, that there are going to be lots of different things where we have huge awareness gaps, where we are naturally going to intellectualize information, especially around identities and communities and history that we don't have a lot of knowledge about. That's natural, but that our learning, our activism can't just stop there. It's really about what are we doing? What are we saying every single day in order to dismantle white supremacy, in order to make our environments and our schools more inclusive, equitable, safe, and justice oriented for students whose identities have historically been marginalized. So while anti-racism, I think, is one really important part of anti-bias work, we have to remember that when it comes to biases, if you Google types of biases, you're going to get dozens and dozens of different studies, different examples. And so it's a really big commitment that we have to make.
Thank you.